Alright guys, so today's video we're going to just do something a little bit different. I mean, we've reviewed so many earbuds and headphones in the past 5 years. I don't know that I've actually sat down and explained how I approach my videos or the process of how I do things from a day-to-day basis. And it might not be interesting to a lot of people, or at least maybe it's informative to kind of give you an idea of how I approach it. And it's just an excuse to do something different. Alright, so on a normal day, and actually every day, I wake up at 6:30. And that's just to kind of keep me on a schedule, because when you work from home, it's a little hard to stay focused. And then obviously I could sleep until noon every day, and it would just make things a lot more difficult. So I wake up at 6:30, and this is just to keep me on this schedule to get up, eat breakfast. I take one of my daughters to school, I come back, and then my day actually starts. And one of the first things that I do is I sit down and go through emails for like an hour. It seems like an hour every time. And these are normally companies reaching out, wanting to advertise or wanting me to send products. So I'll research a lot of that. And that's kind of how I approach products that I do sponsored videos with. It has to be something that obviously ties to the channel, but it definitely needs to be something I myself am interested in. And same thing with the products. It has to be something you guys will even be interested in watching. And then another thing I like to do first thing in the morning is go ahead and just type out all my bullet points for the video that day. Because if I don't, it'll kind of be like this, where it's just rambling and it's not going to make a whole lot of sense, and it'll just be all over the place. So bullet points is just to kind of keep me in line. I don't stick to like a script. That's just not something I've ever been able to do. And it's always supposed to seem like it's natural, like I'm actually talking to you as if I ran into you in public, and not just reading from a teleprompter of, just a spec sheet or anything like that. So I hope that's how it comes across. Now, as far as the way I like to set up my videos, I'm pretty plain Jane. You kind of see the same shot every time, and that's kind of the reason we're even doing this, so you at least know this video is slightly different. But most of my videos, I'm in front of my monitors. It's always kind of had my computer set up in the background. I'm hoping when I move to a new spot that it's just going to be completely different, because that's kind of one thing about YouTube. You guys are watching the same thing all the time, like the same setup, and it gets really kind of tedious and boring on my end, where I'm shooting in front of the same thing every time. But there's only so much space. Then you have to worry about sound. There's just so many things that at least I think about every time I shoot. And again, that's not anything you guys have to be concerned about. But for me, having the right lighting, the right mic, the right camera, and I've gone through a bunch of different cameras because I always like to just mix it up, try to do something a little bit different. So one of the things I get asked all the time is like what kind of camera I use. And I actually use two different cameras, and they're kind of serve different purposes. This is the Sony RX0 Mark II, which it really looks like an action camera, like a GoPro camera. But what it does is it shoots more on a professional side. It actually shoots similar to Sony's higher end cameras. It can even shoot in S-Log. But the main thing here is it has this little flipping screen, which basically is there so that I can see myself, but it's not so large of a screen that I'm sidetracked easily. So this just kind of gives me an idea of where to frame my shot and just makes it simple, and then it gives me colors that I like. But this camera sucks for product shots, and so that's where the Panasonic FZ1000 comes in. It has a lens that I can't change, but it has an incredible zoom. So all those close-up product shots I'm able to do. I can get shots from far away. It has very good colors that's kind of close to the G7 series, but you have manual controls. You can manually focus. You can do all the things I want to do in a professional camera, but in a bridge style camera, so you don't have to worry about buying expensive lenses and stuff like that. So between the two cameras, and actually I bought them used, so it was still like $1,000. So you don't have to spend like a ton of money to get the right equipment to even just start shooting. And that's kind of why I wanted to show this, because I think a lot of people think you have to have this ridiculously expensive equipment. These lights, like the pair of them were $100. Like I said, the cameras were under $1,000. And then this computer, you can have any laptop or whatever just to have notes. You can even have just a tablet that you write notes. But I have this here just simply so, again, I don't forget what I'm talking about. And then over here, sometimes I have the product, but I try not to keep too many things out here because I'm easily sidetracked. So when I'm trying to record, you might see me like look over this way for a little bit, or you might see me try to read notes, and I try to keep from doing that, but sometimes it's just hard not to. So it's hard to remember to focus that the camera is right here. And in fact, right now, the screen's even flipped the other way, so I'm not looking at myself, and I can actually look at the camera. But product shots are the biggest thing to me. So B-roll footage is a huge part of what I do. I used to do photography, so I like to try different things with lighting, different angles, and the main thing you're watching the video for is not me, it's for the product. As much footage as I can possibly shoot, I do. I try to just get every angle so that when I'm talking about it, I know that, okay, I got a shot, you know, that resembles what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and place that here. Then after doing all that, then comes like the really not so fun part at all, and that's the editing process. That is what takes the most amount of time, because you guys see that it's a 10-minute video, but it takes hours and hours, and most of that time is geared towards editing. So it's just sitting in front of a computer, making sure everything looks right, sounds right, and is presented in a way that at least is the idea that I'm going for. And that may seem like a lot because it's just a review video, but I'm just one guy, so I'm doing everything. Although right now, I finally have somebody that I'm using to help me shoot some of these videos so we could try some different things. But this is still in the early process. So up until this point, this is how I've done things. But after the editing, and the other thing that takes forever is the stupid thumbnail. The thumbnail that you just see that has to grab your attention to even want to click on the video. That's another thing I think I way overthink. I mean, I could spend a lot of time trying to edit this to look just right, because it needs to grab your attention, and that's the same way with the title. Obviously, I don't want to go with clickbait titles, which sometimes seems like the easy way out. So even coming up with a title that makes you guys go, okay, I want to click on that video, can take a long time. And in the beginning, I didn't think about this stuff at all. The thumbnail had my face, and the title just had whatever the product was, and that was it. But over time, you just kind of have to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and that's kind of how I do things. So what I wanted to do really was just have this video as just kind of a guideline to show you how I do stuff, and then this kind of a behind the scenes look. And I hope you enjoyed it. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for watching all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.